If you're from a really religious family, for example, have that really religious family even taught girls and boys about sex? Have they taught them about how the opposite sex is going to be?
Fear is like fire. You can either use it to cook your food or you can use it to keep you warm. So,
if you're going to be a follower, be the best follower you can be. If you're going to be a leader that leads by example. It's really easy to become a victim of your circumstance. It's really easy to blame others. It's really easy to just give up.
You need to get away from that person. And the reason why I say that is because whoever you surround yourself with is the outcome of how you're going to be feeling. If you're around people that are successful, people that are positive, people that lift you up and take you to great places, that's the outcome of what's going to happen to you. Whereas if you do the opposite and you're around people that are completely down all the time, people that have got no, they're not really doing anything for themselves. Hi, and welcome to the next edition of the Mo and Charlie Show. On this show, we discuss topics which are very close to the heart. So topics such as lifestyle, topics to do with how you cope with situations, topics to do with relationships, breakups, etc. You name it, that's what we talk about. So before we begin today's topic, please hit the like button, please subscribe for more content, and also please leave a comment for future material.
Or questions that you want to ask, and we will answer the questions. It doesn't matter how controversial they are.
Yeah.
We'll answer them.
We're human first. Right. So today we're talking about a topic to do with life. We're talking about obstacles that you face, and we're talking about how to overcome these and become the best version of yourself. So we'll begin.
So I think many people in life, they can live on the negative things that have happened in their life. They can swim in this and be stuck in it. And it's really easy to become a victim of your circumstance. It's really easy to blame others. It's really easy to just give up. But the fact is that you have one life to live, and it's only you. You've got to rely on yourself only. And I think that you have to really take life by the horns. We're going to go over some different topics and different scenarios and work through how it can be. I know it's difficult as a single parent. I know it's difficult in a relationship. I know it's difficult when you're by yourself and you've never been in a relationship. I know it's difficult because you've got family situations. There are so many different variables that come into this where people get stuck in a place that leads to this PTSD that's become so huge since COVID. Everyone has got PTSD or something nowadays. But again, we can get stuck on that word. We can get stuck on, I've got a PTSD. So you're then stuck in this negative place by saying, I even have a PTSD, rather than dealing with that emotion and moving forward from it. So before I go on to talk about any topics of myself, what has affected you? How did you get out of it? What do you find is the biggest thing in your life that's affected you? And how did you overcome the obstacles, I guess?
Listen, I currently own a clinic with you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I do. I have achieved, I would say, most of the things that I wanted to out of life. But at the same time, that's not to say that I haven't been through my own shit, pardon my French, right? I've been through some very, very, very difficult periods. Periods where I hit complete rock bottom. At one point, I even questioned to see, whether I was depressed and had to see a doctor or not, okay? It's not to say that I'm perfect. I never portray that image to anybody. I'm human first, just like, everybody else is human first. People go through difficulty. People go through hardships. What did I do in times like that? I think the most important thing to begin with is your state of mind and how you cope with it up here. Because I know one thing about myself, and I'm sure many people will resonate with this, which is the story that you tell yourself in your head is the world that you live in. So if you tell yourself at the time when things are going on, why is this happening to me? Things are absolutely shit. I can never get out of this. Then that's going to be the next outlook that you're going to have for the next period of time, however long that is. Whereas opposed to if you tell yourself the complete opposite and you say that, look, I can come out of this and I need to take the steps in order to come out of this, whatever that may be, you can come out of that. So some of the steps that me personally speaking, if you really ask me, what I do, as boring as it may sound, that's probably 90% of the reason why I exercise all the time. Okay. Because for me, it's not to do with anything physical. Physicalities and how you look is a byproduct or side effect. If you work out every day of the week, or if you work out 4 times a week, you are going to look good, right? In the same manner, this also helps you mentally because it makes you, moving makes you feel positive and it makes you feel like you're improving something. So that's the first thing that I do. The other thing that I do is something that you think I'm absolutely crazy for, and, you've started doing it recently, is I have cold showers. Because what that does is, if you've got something going on in your life and you get into the shower and you cold water all over yourself, it shocks your system. You do not have time to think about what it is that you're going through, because what you end up doing is your body goes into a survival mode and you think, oh my God, it's really, really cold. right? There are practical steps that I do, right? So that's from a physicality side of things. From a mental side of things, I try and surround myself as much as possible with people that are positive.
I think that's the key thing. That's really important.
I do not believe in, look, everybody out there, you've all got a friend like this, right? The friend that basically sucks the crap out of your energy. You sit with this person, you feel good. Within half an hour, you're like, oh my God, I thought my life was bad, right? I feel even worse now when I'm walking away from that person. As close as that person may be to you, you need to get away from that person. And the reason why I say that is because whoever you surround yourself with is the outcome of how you're going to be feeling. If you're around people that are successful, people that are positive, people that lift you up and take you to great places, that's the outcome of what's going to happen to you. Whereas if you do the opposite and you're around people that are completely down all the time, people that have got no, they're not really doing anything with themselves, that's also going to be the outcome of that. There's a saying that they say, which is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. Your 5 closest friends are a true reflection of who you really are. If you're around a bunch of people that do nothing with their lives, and sorry to say this, but and you're completely depressed and you're, nothing against depression. If you're around people that are like this and they carry negative energy, that's the outcome of how you're going to be. Why would you expect anything different? You're always going to get the same result. You need to change the type of person that you're around. Okay. Which then goes on to the next part, which is you need to start taking, in addition to the being around friends and being around, doing practical steps in your life, which physically changes the way you feel, because a strong body equals a strong mind. You need to be doing other things as well, which strengthen your mind. I would say, from my own experience, guys don't talk. Just from a personal perspective, men don't talk. So what they end up doing is they end up harboring everything that they hold on to. And what then ends up happening is you end up living in this mental prison within your head where you start having conversations with yourself. I'm not saying you need to go and see a therapist, which, can help you. But instead of that, what I'm saying is you need to train your mind like you train your body in,
But that's you. That's you. That's you that can handle all of these things. It's not everyone is as strong as you. Who would you say is the strongest person that you know?
Within my friend circle.
Okay, so give me somebody who is the strongest person mentally who's been through a lot in their lives that you know.
Well, you're one of them.
Why am I one of the strongest people that you know?
Because you've been lots of hardship. Look at the conversation that we had this morning. You told me about all the things that you had been through. I'm not going to go into details, but you said lots of things that you've been through. And I put myself in that situation, and sometimes I think, oh my God, if I had been through that, I don't know how I would have dealt with it. In the same way, sometimes people say to me, Mo, some of the things that you've been through, I don't know how I would have dealt with that. Sometimes when you're in that situation, you're in fight or flight. You have no choice but to deal with it.
I think, a lot of people give me this credit and say that I'm a really strong person, etc. And I've been through so much. But the thing with me is I don't really see it. I just know that I've had to survive. I know that I've had children from very young, so I've become selfless from a really young age. And I know that I have had to just keep things moving. And there was not an option. There have been times when I felt really down. I'm not a depressive person. Okay, I've got friends that have suffered from depression and I've tried to help them out of it, and it's a really difficult thing to go through, and people get depression for various reasons, and it's really, really tough, and you can end up being in this rut, and once you're in that rut you just don't know how to pull yourself out of it. I think I'm quite a fortunate person, and I think some people are depressive, they have the ability to be depressed more than others, and others have the ability to pull themselves out of it by themselves. I think you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink. If you want to help yourself and if you want to better your life or get out of a situation you're in, you've got to first of all recognize what the situation is, where it's come from, how it's manifested to begin with. I think that you can mix yourself. Let's take it back a second. You get into relationships with people. I'm not talking about relationships where it's an emotional relationship. I'm talking about, well, actually it is emotional, but a friendship, whatever relationships, because actually friendships that go wrong, I think, can have a bigger impact than relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife relationships that go wrong, because friendships, sometimes you've got a friendship 15, 20 years, that goes wrong, and that can have a really big impact in your life of being disappointed by somebody. And I think that you've got to remember that sometimes we can mistake a friend for an acquaintance for a friend. Sometimes people are in your life for a certain period of time and they're not meant to be in your life for a really long period of time. But if you look at the period of time they were in your life, what change happened then? Was it negative? Was it positive? Was it so negative you recognized the negative and you removed them and you learned that your boundaries have now changed? This is what I'm not going to deal with in my life. But have you then learned from those boundaries, or have you continued your life and made the same mistake with friend 1, friend 2, friend 3, relationship 1, 2, 3, and that same boundary's been tested every single time? Because if you're constantly in that negative state, then what's happening to you mentally? You're mentally not bettering yourself. You're not trying to move up the ladder in yourself, in your life. When we talk about success, I don't talk about success. I'm not measuring success by finance. Success isn't finance. You can be the richest person in the room, but really poor because your health is so bad. The wealthiest person is the healthiest person. And you have to, as long as you have your health, you are able to do anything. The world is your oyster. As hard as it may seem to climb up that ladder, as hard as it may seem to climb the mountain that's ahead of you, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. On a scale of, the people that are really successful in their life didn't wake up and just got successful. They woke up and thought, that's where I want to be. That's where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go there regardless. I give you an example. I had somebody worked with me years ago, and she saw that I'd pulled away and I'd started my own business and blah, blah, blah. And I had 2 children at the time. And she said to me, I don't know how to start working. I've got a child, he's 4 or whatever he was. He was at like nursery age, or he was at school age. He was at school age, actually. He definitely was at school age. And she said to me, can I come and shadow you? Because I don't know how to get back into work with my child. And I said, no, you can't. And it wasn't because I was trying to be cruel. It was because I had 2 children. I was by myself. I was a single parent, and I worked my arse off at the time. I worked really, really hard. And most days, I worked 7 days a week just to make sure that my children had food on the table. I could travel with them. I could give them what they deserved, because it wasn't their fault that I was in a position where I could have been in a position not to provide for them. That wasn't an option in my life. My option was not have children and don't provide for you. Have children, don't let you see the world. Have children, don't let you experience different things to raise you into amazing human beings. That was never an option for me. So that's what drove me from day dot. So when this girl said this to me, I said, not in a cruel way, but I said no. And I said, you've got to go figure yourself out. You've got to go and figure out that you can go and put your child in school. If your child's in school, you can put them in a breakfast club or an after school club. And that gives you from 8 until 5, if you want, every day to go and work.
Figure yourself out.
And figure yourself out. Why was that so hard? Why was that such a hard thing to do? So you can live in the depressive state of, I can't do anything. I'm a single parent. I've got my child by myself. What do I do? Or you can think, okay, this is the situation in front of me. This is the hurdle. How do I fix this hurdle so I can get to where I need to be? And that's what you have to do. You've got to figure out, you can't sit there and dwell in a place of negativity if you want to be better. If you don't want to be better, sit there and dwell in that negativity. People that come into your life, my cousin taught me years ago. She said to me, she'll know exactly when she said this to me, but I had a bad relationship. And she said to me, don't talk about the relationship and don't say that he was X, Y, and Z and he's horrible. Don't put negative things out there. What she said is, take this as a lesson that you were not right for me. And I've used that through my life. So I don't look at friendships, relationships, people that work for us, situations in my life. I don't look at anything like that. Now, how I adopt it is that right for me? Is that right for Charlie? If it's right for Charlie, then fantastic, let's move forward. And if I've made a mistake, that's my fault because I thought it was right for me. I didn't assess the situation properly. But I'm not going to blame the other side. I'm not going to blame the other person because actually I was in control of that initial choice, that is that right for me or not? And I allowed that to step into me. And so if I now have made a mistake in my choice, then I have to learn from that mistake and I have to move forward. Now, we've had people that have come and spoken to us loads of times about how they've got family. But one of the biggest problems is family. One of the biggest problems ever is family. And sometimes I think that people need to understand that, yes, you've got a mum and your dad. Yes, you've got your brothers and your sisters. Yeah, you've got all of this. But sometimes your friends make your family more than your family make your family. And that's okay. That's okay. But you know something? You have to have boundaries with everything that you do. So to better yourself in life, to make sure that you move forward, in order to move forward, you've got to have your own boundaries set in place, I think, first. Whether it be boundaries of your own personal being, boundaries of well-being, boundaries of your health, boundaries of your friends, boundaries of a relationship, boundaries of your work, boundaries of anything that you want to do. You've got to first of all sit down and set those boundaries of what you are not willing to go beneath. And then you can start to work your way up. But the biggest mistake, sorry, I know you want to come in, one more thing. The biggest mistake somebody can make is thinking that somebody that is in their life permanently when they were a temporary person in their life. Temporary is okay. We need temporary in our life to give us the stepping stones to become better. And then you thank that situation and you move on from it. But never confuse a temporary with a permanent and a permanent with a temporary. Because you could lose a permanent because you think it's a temporary and you treat it badly, whatever situation it is, or you could live vice versa. So I think you have to really recognize what's meant to be in your life for a short stay and what's meant to be in your life for a long stay and treat them in completely different ways.
You know, we could go on to the topic and open a massive can of worms talking about people and whatever, right? But you know what this ultimately comes down to is your rules and boundaries that you set for yourself and your perception of life and how you view things, okay? You know, to explain what I mean by this is most of the time what we do is we end up settling for whatever it is that we have, and not seeing anything better.
I always said in school, I think kids should do life coaching. I think you get into secondary school, I think it should be part of the curriculum that kids do life coaching, so they can actually figure out how to handle different topics that come into their life. Because kids go into school, who teaches them the values of life? If you're from a really religious family, for example, have that really religious family even taught girls and boys about sex? Have they taught them about how the opposite sex is going to be? Have they taught them there's rape in this world, that there's child abuse in this world? Have they taught them these things? You know what I mean? Don't talk to the strangers because they could be a paedophile. You know what I mean? Like some of these things aren't spoken about.
Yeah.
Then you've got these innocent kids walking around that don't even understand. So I think that life coaching should be taught in school, so it teaches people how to be adapted, how to learn how to work with these situations that come around when you get older. If we give some examples of people, we know people that have lived on the streets. We know people that had no food to eat.
Yeah.
We know people that have, come to us with loads of different problems and issues, and you want to try help everybody, but it's really difficult. And then you get people like paedophiles, for example, and it's like, oh, you're occupational therapist, but why did you feel the need to do? Who gives a damn why he felt the need to do that? You've got to be responsible for your own actions in life. So you've got all these people now that are hiding behind mental health as well. The paedophiles, the rapists, the murderers, all these people, a bunch of people that are going through their bad times in life and they don't have to get out of this depressive state, and we're trying to help, and you've got to self-healing and you've got to learn how to live. But then you've got these other people that go out and do all these crazy things because they had a bad upbringing. But surely you need to take life by the horns and you need to be in control of yourself. I'm in control. If I pick up a knife and think I'm going to go kill somebody, I'm in control of that. I'm in control of the fact that you think to even hurt a child. You're in control of that. So you can't almost use all these depressive things and all these things that have gone on in life to now make this your future. This doesn't plan how your future should be. You don't think to yourself, I've hurt my knee, for example, I'm going to sit at home and be a bum and I'm not going to work anymore and I'm just going to not do anything at all. I'm going to get depressed and stop drinking alcohol and take drugs. You made a choice not to do that. You made a choice to get up. You made a choice to go to work. Regardless if you had to hobble there, you made a choice to do that. And people in life have choices. And I am not somebody this is going to sound really harsh and maybe I'm going to get stick for it, but I've been through a lot in my life. I've also raised children alone in my life. And people that know me know I have been through a lot. And I will share things with this podcast as we go on, because I think it's important that people learn from other people's experiences. But one thing I will say is that I don't give up. I never give up. I fight and I fight and I fight until I get what I want and what I need in a good way. And I'm all about helping other people. It's really important to me to help other people. It's one of the main reasons we opened up this clinic together, because that was both the vision we both had, was to help other people. It's a really big vision for us. So to help other people feeds me, it feeds us. So I never ever have given up. Now, have I gone through broken relationships, family trauma? Have I gone through being left alone? Yes. Did I not know how my next meal was going to come at times? Yes. Did I not know how I was even going to feed my kids sometimes? Yes. Have I cried myself to sleep at night? Yes. Have I been in situations where I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent? Yes. I've done all of those things. Am I there now? No, I'm not. And I'm in the happiest relationship I've ever been in. I know how to handle my relationship because I've learned from all of my mistakes in the past. I try not to bring all of my PTSDs into this relationship because I know that they are my PTSDs and I've got someone who wants to work with them and bring out the positive in them. And I associate myself now only with positive people. So if there's negativity around you, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for us. And that ship's got to go somewhere else, because that's just I'm not playing in that season anymore of negativity or anything like that. I'm only playing in a positive world because we have a family to support. You probably hear our son in the background because he comes to work with us every day. He's the king of the clinic.
Yep.
So if you hear him all the time in the podcast, it's because he's always here with us. But we have so much going on, and that's because we've taken life by the horns. Is it difficult? Do we find it hard? Have I cried since we've even had our son? Oh my God, how many times? How many times have I got upset? How many times have I thought, what have we done? How do we handle all this? But you just keep going. And you keep moving forward. And regardless of how bad you think the situation is, don't live in that negativity, because it will never, ever get better. If you stay in a negative place, you're never going to go into a positive place. You've got to let that negativity go. And you've got to think from that cloud, no matter how grey or black that cloud is, there is a silver lining somewhere around it. You just got to find the glimmer. And then if you go towards it and you find it, you learn from any mistakes you might have made, you'll move forward and you'll become the person that you want to become. But Don't live in any negativity. You can't harbour that negativity because it just doesn't work. We've had situations, the two of us, and we've both been in a negative place, and we both said, hold on a second, but you got what you wished for. If you want this, you'll have it in abundance. Whether you're religious or you're not religious, there's someone up there that looks out for you. There's someone out there that looks out for you. And sometimes you've got to have a little bit of faith in the situation. You've got to have, I'm not saying be God-fearing if you're not. I'm not preaching anything to you, but you've got to have a bit of faith. And you could be somebody right now that's listening to this, or, you know, you have nothing and you're thinking, I don't have to feed my kids today. But what did you do this week that you could have changed in order to make your situation a bit better? Did you go out there? Did you try and speak to people? Did you try and better yourself by surrounding yourself with one better person? Did you speak to someone to say, how can I become better? Could I change my job? Could I, you know, sometimes you've just got to go look at your kids and you've got to think, hold on a minute, I have to become better. Or you've got to look at yourself, because if you don't love yourself, then nobody else in this world will love you. You have to love yourself. You've got to learn to love yourself. You are on this earth and you need to learn to love yourself. Once you learn to love yourself, everything else will fall in place. And it's hard. It's hard to love yourself, especially, you know, if you're from the UK at the moment. It's really, really tough place to be. It's a tough place to live at the moment. And it's trying and testing the best of us. But I think that you have to, so I've got a lot to say on this subject. I think that you just have to sometimes really take all of the positive things that possibly could happen. Are you living? Are you breathing? Can you talk? Can you, you know, if you have these abilities, and you can do so much more. For God's sake, I'm in bodybuilding, and, you know, I see people get on stage who have one leg. I see people get on stage who've got one arm, and they get on stage and they still train. They've still done everything they're doing. I've trained people in wheelchairs. I've trained people that have got serious illnesses. I'm training somebody at the moment who has MS, and he's taken life by the horns and said, no, you know what? Not today. Today I'm going to go and strengthen myself even more. I'm going to become stronger than I've ever become. So this isn't going to take over my life. I run into the gym to train him because it's such a breath of fresh air to meet people like that are just, you know, really taking life by the horns. I'll give you another example. My cousin Carly is a massive big advocate for breast cancer. She does all these different campaigns. She really, really has put her all into it. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and what's she done from it? She's taken that whole negativity, she's turned it into positivity. Now she's helping thousands and thousands of people. She could have just given up and said, you know what? I'm depressed. This is awful. This has happened to me. Why? I just given up on the situation. She didn't. Now she helps thousands. She's probably, without even knowing it, saved lives, because people now check themselves. They check their breasts. They check their prostate. They check these things because they now are aware, because somebody else is in that situation, and now they're trying to better other people's lives from it. You know, all these things they're really important. So you can get stuck in the negativity, or you can pick yourself up and become stuck in the positivity. But I promise you, being stuck in the positivity, you are going to be rewarded. If you're stuck in the negativity, there's only one way down. That's down. You can't keep going down. How much more rock bottom are you going to hit until you say enough is enough?
If you take the steps in order to try and better your life and do what you have to do every single day of the week, and you surround yourself with good people, and all of these things that I'm talking about are not impossible. They are possible things for you to do. You surround yourself with good people, you practice good habits. And let me make a point about this whole practicing good habits. If you're someone who takes drugs, drinks alcohol, you know, you smoke too many cigarettes, you know, whatever it is, you complain about the fact that your life is not good, things are not going well, and everything else as well. What result do you expect to happen? Because you're doing all of the steps that you can in order for your life to go in a negative direction, and you're not practicing enough positive steps. Which other result would you expect? And I think that's an important point, which is that you need to practically have practical steps in life, you know, demonstrating all the time in order for you to go in a positive direction. One of the things that we have been through a lot of stressful situations.
Yeah.
Right? People just see things from the outside and they think, wow, you've got a wonderful clinic, you've got a wonderful business, you guys must be doing really well, you know, you're doing X, Y, and Z. You have no idea the amount of conversations that we have together. You don't know any of the stresses that we go through. You have, you know, the times when, you know, things that happen outside of the clinic to us that we never show people. But one of the things that we do, which I would say unanimously, you know, we don't do it all the time, but we're starting to do it more now, is we say to ourselves, take a step back, look at what we have. It's the point that you made. Look at what we have. Look at what, you know, we worked towards everything that we've got right now. And whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, I personally believe, and I know you'd agree with this, if you do the practical right steps, which is what I've just said 30 seconds ago, there is no other way that the universe or God will gift you, but he will give you what it is that you've been after. Whatever it is that you want is what you achieve. And that's what you're gifted with. We wanted this. We wanted our life. You know the stress that we have right now? This is what we wanted. And it's your perception. I come back to the whole thing about perception. If you view your life from a perspective of, oh my God, it's so stressful right now, I can't deal with this. You know, I wanted this, but now that I've got it, what do I do? And blah, 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 which is absolutely fine. You can have that. But at the same time, sometimes I think take a step back and look at what it is that you have. You wanted this. You wanted these things. You wanted to have that job. You wanted to have that clinic. You also wanted all the things that come with it too. And that's okay.
Yeah, but I think sometimes people aren't aware of what comes with their situations. Some people aren't aware of all the baggage that comes with various things. They go for a job, they like the job's a great job, but they don't realise they're going to be there 15 hours a day and they're going to have no life. They don't realise that. Someone doesn't realise that. You know, also a point though is sometimes when people come out of a situation, like if they've been by themselves or, I mean, this is like I don't know if this is a good or bad example, but you know, someone's been to prison. Yeah. They've been in a cell and then they get released. Yeah. They go back to prison. A lot of the time people end up back in prison because they don't know how to live in life. They don't know how to be in society now because they're being conformed to a little cell and the routine of it. And being out in this big wide world is scary for them because they don't know how to navigate that. And sometimes I think some people are so used to being stuck in a rut and stuck in a place. Coming out of that is quite scary. They don't know how to navigate that. They don't know how to navigate the other side, the positive side. The world is your oyster. I can imagine that can scare some people because that's a really big oyster. That's a really big world. How big is that? Where am I going to go? How am I going to go? It's like being out at sea and not knowing how far it is to the shore. People like you and I, that excites us. Throw us there. Let's see how far we can go. What can we have here?
Yeah, but the point I'm making is this, which is you've touched on a really interesting point here, which is, listen, I get scared like the next person does. You know, when it comes to different things or different ventures that we're going to go into, we're looking at different ventures at the moment, right? Some people may think to themselves, my God, this guy's just completely ambitious. No, I'm scared like the next person. The difference is, fear excites me. Yeah, I know, as twisted as that may sound, because fear makes you grow, because fear makes you do things. And when I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about fear of doing positive things, not just fear in general, but fear of doing things which make you grow and do something different, makes you grow ultimately. Yeah, it does, because again, it comes back to perception. One of the things that I came across once upon a time, this is what got me over the whole concept of fear, was this, which is that, during the Olympics, one of the traits that they have is they go to all of the sprinters and they interview them and they say to them, right, are you scared about the race? And they're like, I'm petrified about racing. So what keeps you going? And they say, that fear excites me. Because that fear excites me, it makes me want to win. Yeah. The fear of losing. And do you think someone's a dangerous character if they have no fear? I think with all things in life, I think you need to have balance.
But do you think someone is dangerous if they have no fear? Absolutely. If someone says, I'm fearless, number one, do you think they're lying? And do you think that you have to have fear in life?
Listen, I think that anybody that walks around saying that I'm absolutely fearless is absolutely lying, because having fear is a human characteristic to begin with. That's number one. Fear is our protective mechanism for making sure that we're safe all the time. Think about the things that you fear. You fear them because you're worried about, something bad happening to you. Yeah, whatever it is. If you may fear losing your job, which is going to cripple you financially. You may fear losing a family member because you're going to lose a loved one and you're fearing how that's going to make you feel. Fear is there, and fear is, within your body to protect you and to keep you alive. Because if we didn't have fear, then, God knows what would happen to us. Okay? The man that runs into a burning building has fear, right, to save people, but he still does it. And this is the other thing as well, which I'm going to lead on to, which is, having fear is a good thing that you need to use for whatever it is that you do. Okay? So, one of the sayings that I heard a very long time ago, which is fear is like fire. Right. And I watch a lot of boxing and whatever, and fear is like fire. You can either use it to cook your food or you can use it to keep you warm. So, it depends on how you take that thing and now how you transition that into your life. Having fear is not a bad thing. The things that we're about to do, we're very scared of what we're about to do. But at the same time, we're excited. And the reason why we're excited is because we know that that's going to make us grow. If you're stuck in the same place and you constantly have this fear and you look at life and you don't do anything, you don't make any moves, and you don't, you're so crippled by your situation because you think that the world has done you an injustice, and you sit in one place and you don't want to do things because of fear, you're always going to have the same outcome. Not wanting to do things, though, is also you're either a leader or a follower. You're either a leader or a follower in this life, but it's okay to be a follower and it's okay to be a leader. But if you're going to be a follower, be the best follower you can be. If you're going to be a leader that leads by example. Various elements of fear scare me, but fear when it comes to excelling and rebuilding and building our life and making it bigger and better and helping more people and getting out there to more people, that fear excites me. But we do need leaders and followers. So I think that leaders are excited by fear. Followers are feared by fear. So they stay back and they just follow and keep it safe. Let someone else take the front line. I'll just keep it safe here. Whereas leaders are excited by fear. Okay, so to wrap up the podcast, the take-home message today is that in order for you to change your life, we're coming from a very positive stance. So you can change things in your life. You can take the practical steps in order to make your life different. We're not coming from a standpoint to say that things are not difficult. We've just demonstrated the fact that, some of the difficulties that we've been through. But I think the most important thing is you need to have practical steps in your mind. You need to be surrounded by good people. You also need to have the correct mindset. And the correct mindset is bred by being around the good people and having a completely positive perception about life. If there's anything else that you want to add to that.
If you've got any questions and you've got any situations and you want to ask questions, ask away. And we will bring them up in a podcast and we'll answer the questions with our own advice to the best of our knowledge. We can only go off of what we've been through. If we haven't been through something, we're not going to give you our advice on it, because I think it's important that we can relate to any questions that are asked of us. But yeah, go for it. Ask questions and remember to like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
And we will see you on our next podcast. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you for viewing.